So I'm Shauna Harper from the manager of Pivot Magazine, and I'm excited to welcome you to the Pivot Magazine's podcast show, where we love to share the stories of Canadian entrepreneurs at different stages of their business. Because our belief is that there is something to teach and definitely something to learn from every stage of the journey of being an entrepreneur. So our topic today is location no longer defines us. And today we have with us Will Cattle from Spark Geo in Prince George. Spark Geo builds next generation web mapping applications. So welcome, Will.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Good, good.
On the
Well,
show.
why don't you tell us a little bit about what Spark Geo does?
So at Spark Geo, we help social networks and any kind of organization. We help them understand and leverage location better. So whether that means optimizing their process by injecting some location or some routing algorithm, or whether it means helping them understand how they can use location on the web, we will sort of inject our location intelligence technology into whatever process needs to be optimized.
Perfect. So one of the reasons we got you to be the interviewee for this is that you're not actually in Silicon Valley or in Vancouver. You're actually in Prince George,
Yeah.
which is, for those of you that don't know where Prince George is, we're about 8 to 10 hours, depending on the season and who's driving, drive from Vancouver and about an hour flight. And so why do you live in Prince George and when you could be really, in the Lower Mainland or Silicon Valley or Seattle even?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. I mean, we, in the most part, do our work on the web. So in reality, we can be anywhere. A good reason to live in Prince George is our sanity. I've hung around San Francisco long enough to know that it's a pretty crazy environment, very distracting. Prince George is a very good place for staying focused and writing some awesome code. You can shovel data around the internet to the cows come home. It doesn't matter where you are.
I see, I see.
So why wouldn't you be in Prince George, where you can ski every weekend and enjoy the sun in the summer?
So do you think living in the community that size has benefited your business? Although, I mean, most of your business you do outside of the city.
Yeah, I mean, I spend enough time in other cities to enjoy those other cities when I'm there,
Yeah.
but know that I wouldn't enjoy the practicalities of living in a big urban centre where there would be an hour and a half of my day taken up with commuting. There would be, huge expenses that simply we don't have to consider up here. But I can look out my window in the morning and decide if I want to bother going to work or not. I can work from home quite happily. I can virtually ski to work if I want to in the mornings. It's a much more calm lifestyle for myself and my family as far as that's concerned. And there's absolutely no downside to the business as far as I've encountered as yet.
Okay. So over you obviously started the business and been an entrepreneur for a few years now. Has your business model changed over time, working remotely or after
Yeah, I
when you
mean,
first started?
so the reason we landed in Prince George initially was mainly through the resource industry. My history is in geographic information systems, and I used to make maps for the forest industry. So that's why we're in Prince George, and
Oh, that
we
makes
set
sense.
up our lives here and enjoy the lifestyle here. But Spark Geo, in its inception, started out serving Silicon Valley clients with web tech, with geographic web technology. So we've always done that. What has changed is how we acquire clients. It's much more about word of mouth now than it used to be. It's much more about making connections on LinkedIn. It's much more about being present in the virtual water cooler, which is the web. A lot of people say that you can't work remotely, you can't have a remote business because you don't get to interact with people and network with people. But, the opportunities abound on the internet. And when, in essence, you're selling a web product or a data product, you're on the web anyway. So it doesn't really matter where you are. I certainly do value the opportunity to sit down and have a nice chat with someone over coffee or a beer, and that's why I do spend some time in San Francisco, and I wouldn't deny there's value there. But in reality, a lot of the good, solid business communication can occur easily remotely. So, have things changed? For Spark Geo, they have changed, but not enormously. Our first clients were captured through LinkedIn. We still capture clients through LinkedIn and Twitter.
I see.
But now it's much more about actually getting our sort of references and our word of mouth.
So you were saying that you had worked before, obviously, in the forestry industry doing mapping, and then now that's what you do for your clients as well. But besides doing the mapping, the part of being an entrepreneur, I guess, all of the other parts of being an entrepreneur about marketing your business, the finance side and all that, what are kind of some of the lessons you've learned over, the years that you've been in business as an entrepreneur that you can tell kind of upcoming entrepreneurs that are just starting out and trying to create their virtual business, and they're great at the skill that they do, and then they also want to turn it into a business? What are some of the things that you have learned and lessons or challenges that you've overcome?
I think one of the key things is to be able to differentiate yourself effectively. It's really important for people to understand why what you're doing is a little bit different, and why what you're doing is a little bit, should be listened to. So we have in Spark Geo, we have a niche around geographic information. We could build websites. We could just be standard web application developers, but that puts us in a much bigger pot, much more aggressively competitive pot. We leverage our geographic skills, and we tell people that we build geographic data. It's a much smaller pot, and it differentiates us from many, many, many other players. Suddenly, the playing field is much, much more manageable. And if you're a web engineer, you can get a job probably within about 10 minutes in San Francisco. If you're a geospatial web engineer, you can get a job in probably about 3 minutes in San Francisco. Highly sought after skill set, and you just need to put up your shingle on the web, and people will discover you in time. It helps if you can prompt that discovery process and prompt the right people, but it makes. I guess the biggest lesson I've learned so far is that it doesn't hurt to talk to people, and that it doesn't matter how well known a person is, they're still just a person. So give it a crack, have a chat, see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember learning that from you on one or two cases there. So you've also helped grow the startup community here in Prince George, and by the sounds of it, you don't actually do a lot of business locally here, but you're still very active in the startup community. Why was that community important for you if you seem to work mainly virtually?
So I never really thought the startup community would be a source of clients or a source of work for me. Mm-hmm. I have an interest in, I'm a contrarian. I like to prove that the impossible is true, or to break people's perceptions of how the world works. So I like the idea of a little resource town in the north being a technology hub. I think on one hand it's ridiculous and it makes no sense. On the other hand, it makes perfect sense because it's a place you can go for lifestyle choice. It's a place you can go to, to escape from the necessities of the big city life, and you can still operate very effectively as a business person and entrepreneur. So why not? Was my initial reaction. So having a startup community is great because there's people to bounce stupid ideas off. And they can come back with an even stupider idea. And sometimes the stupid ideas are the ones that you really need to make a difference. So getting those people, getting the crazies together to bounce stupid ideas around is a great idea. And then proving the case that you can have a technology hub in the middle of of the woods of British Columbia, it is also a great idea. Because in essence, you can have a technology hub anywhere, so why not here?
Fantastic. So we're at the 10-minute mark now. And for these initial podcasts, we're trying to keep them short and sweet and under 10 minutes. But I feel like we're not done here. So I'm going to continue on with Will here and dig a little deeper. So if you are listening to this as an MP3 or perhaps watching this on YouTube or on our website, and there's so many ways to get plugged in now, stay tuned. And there should be a box underneath where you can sign up for the longer version of this audio, which will be only available as an MP3 at the end of the month, so that we can, as entrepreneurs, fellow entrepreneurs, we know that in order to leverage our time, it's easier to listen to it while we're doing something else and multitasking. So we're providing it as a longer version as an MP3 download, so that you can listen to the gym, on your way to work, while you're making dinner. And we will continue on with Will and ask him a little bit more about kind of the way his company has built a virtual team and how does he get those virtual customers like he has been talking about there, as well as his advice for people looking to kind of move to similar situations.